opportunity to have an extraordinary life and impact so many people. That's the beautiful thing about real estate. If you think about each of our companies, we might have 1,000 agents, like say. Those agents are doing 12, 15 deals. That's 15,000 people you're touching. Not to mention the listings and all the prospecting that's out there. So as a leader, we got a great responsibility, a great opportunity to provide inspiration, aspiration, and motivation. Thank you, Diane.
I love it, Dan, and you are inspiring me. Keith, how about you? What tidbit do you have for our audience today?
I think it's so important to be specific in what is expected, foster an environment of creativity and collaboration and empowerment, be very, very quick to acknowledge success, and very, very quick and willing to make change where change is needed for the best outcome of the client experience, which is the agent experience that you're responsible for.
Thank you. Oh, amazing. And Mike, how about you? Inspire us.
Yeah. My dad used to say only 5% of the people can manage and can lead. And in that 5%, there's the great ones and not. So it's a honor and a privilege and a blessing to be able to lead others. And so I would encourage you, if you have that calling, if you have that servant's heart, it can be the best run of your life. And I would encourage all of you to stay with it and do the great job that you're doing, because you are impacting lives, not only our associates' lives, but their families, your community, and I think, in fact, changing the world.
Yes, so true. And Mike, you definitely have the calling. And Vince, why don't you end it for us here?
The one thing I haven't really talked about that we operate in kind of that Elon Musk attitude is the attitude of abundance. We want our leadership team, we want our agents to all have that attitude of abundance, where we openly share with each other, we collaborate with each other, we say, here's what's working, here's what's not working, we embrace risk, we encourage each other, and we understand the best is yet ahead, and there's more than enough for everybody. And so I find that if within an organization, if you live with that attitude of abundance, even when agents are competitors, it helps them. Managers who may see themselves as competitors, when they start living with that, everybody improves within the organization. Thank you very much, Diane, for everything today.
Well, thank you. As I said in the beginning, 4 incredible leaders who have inspired me greatly today. I hope it has for you as well. We have touched on so many of the important things that good leaders need to do, finding them, keeping them, encouraging them, caring about them, and then how to keep the company structured and moving in the right direction. So I hope this has been as wonderful and inspiring for the audience as it has been for me. And I thank each and every one of our panelists for your time and your insight and for your inspiration. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, everyone, for those great insights on developing a leadership team that both you and your agents can depend on. Thanks again for being here. Now we're taking a look at one of the industry's biggest trends, power buying. Here to lead the discussion on creative financing options is Lane Horning, CEO and founder of Zavvy and the brokerage 8Z Real Estate. Over to you, Lane.
in terms of keeping your finger on the pulse and what's going on in the market. What data is it that you're looking at, Laura, when you help your clients price their home?
When you're helping our clients price their home, we're going to pull up the MLS data and look at days on market for the specific zip code, because in our area down in the Houston area, not all areas are the same. If you're in a highly sought after school district, the houses are still really hot. If you're outside of those school district markets, we're really starting to see a slowdown. I think to best answer your question, I usually pull out a pyramid and I show them a range of a value of where their price should be priced. And I tell them this is the lower end, this is the higher end, this is the middle. Over the last year or so, a lot of people have been pricing their homes really high. And in the Houston market, we're kind of coming down to the market value. And I advise my clients that, look, hey, we can price it high if this is what you choose. If that's their choice, then we'll price it there. And I let them know the market is going to tell us whether we're priced correctly or not. If we've had a week on the market and we're getting showings and no offers, then we're probably 2 to 5% off on price and we need to look at reducing it. If we are on the market and not getting any showings, we could be 5% or more overpriced and really need to reevaluate the pricing on that. And we'll have to come back and talk about that.
Terrific. Thank you, Laura. And Lori, what are your insights on this?
Well, basically, again, you have to educate the client. I look at MLS data. I look at list to sale price ratio. I look at absorption rate. I look at specific neighborhoods and the intricacies of the market, depending on every neighborhood, maybe 5% higher than the next, from a west side to a south side. Again, data doesn't lie.
That is true. That is true. And thank you for that answer. Chris, what about you? How are you, or what data are you really looking at to help your clients?
Just like my fellow panelists here, same thing. We're looking at MLS data, but I'm also I'm really focusing a lot on what the economists. So we have a couple of local housing economists that speak on our market. They're very well versed and they've been economists for years, and they just kind of talk about what's happening, what we're seeing, what the trends look like, and they're comparing it out over the past 10 or 15 years. And I think being armed with that kind of information, going in and talking to my sellers, really does help when we talk about price and location and what we should expect for the home.
Terrific. Anything to add to this, Brooke?
Yeah, I think my fellow panelists absolutely nailed it on that question. The only other thing that I'll add is the fact that we need to also be mindful of how the sellers are educating themselves before we even sometimes step foot in the house. So looking at some of those online valuation sites and just calling out the elephant in the room and coming in knowledgeable with what number they're seeing on the other side of things is huge in setting expectations and education as well.
And I think we know who that elephant in the room is, but we won't have to name names, and we'll move on. With that, obviously, I think another opportunity for sellers to get a little bit more or squeeze a little more juice out is updates. What kind of updates are you encouraging your clients to make to their homes? And Chris, I'm going to start with you on this. Really, what can really help drive that price up a little bit without breaking the bank prior to the sale?
Well, thank you. It's interesting you would ask this question. My team actually has an interior designer / stager that is a integral part of our team, and we bring her on a lot of our listing appointments. And what we're seeing currently, as in today, is we're not recommending that people do a ton of work to their home to sell it. And the reason why is the market is so hot, we're seeing homes go off market in 2 to 3 days after you list them. So Right now, we're not seeing a need for them to do massive or a lot of updates. I will tell you, like a year or two ago, we were encouraging people to, do bathrooms and kitchens, maybe do some flooring at the minimum to stage the home. But as in this market today, we're not even recommending them do any work to the house.
Great, fantastic answer, Chris. Brooke, I want to throw this to you now.
Yeah, as Chris said on the last question, following the economists and what they say. So I really look at stats and what different return on investments people are getting. And flooring actually, as of a couple months ago, had 106% return on investment for sellers. So I use that data and share that with my clients that, hey, if you're looking at doing something or if your flooring needs to be done, you might actually get your return on investment there. But also, as Chris said, I don't think a lot of the other things don't need to be done right now.
Terrific. Laura, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
So my thoughts, regardless of what kind of market it is, you should always be educating your clients on at the very minimum that they need to have their professional photos done. The countertops need to be clean. Your house should be deep clean. Floors should be clean, uncluttered. I think regardless of the market, those things are going to be really important to get top dollar for your home. Additionally, some of the other colleagues here have said, flooring and paint are huge. I think painting your baseboards and doing some touch-up paints are always going to bring value to selling your home, and that really should be in any market. And it's just pride, taking pride in your home, taking pride in your listings, and getting top dollar for those.
I'm going to stick with you real quick, Laura. Is there potential risk in paint, say if you go a little bit too wild, a little bit too bold?
Absolutely. There's definitely a risk in that. And that is where painting does come in handy. If you do have bold or wild colors, I would suggest a neutral color, like an agreeable grayish color, that's the trend currently, or whatever the current trend is in your market. There are companies out there that if your sellers don't have the ability to pay for paint right away and it desperately needs it, that they can make these changes and pay for those products at closing.
Excellent. Excellent. And Lori, I'll close out with you on this topic.
I'd have to say in Worcester County, Massachusetts, where we're at this point, like Chris said, in California, we don't really see a lot of need for that at this point, being with the market conditions, such low inventory and buyer demand. But I do think paint goes a long way. Fixtures, if they'd like to update fixtures, switch plates, something like that is needed. Maybe go into flooring, but there's really not a need for that at this point. I think once the market stabilizes, there certainly will be. But at this point in my market, keep it clean, very neat, present it properly on MLS, professional photography, video, drone, and really just present it in its best light, have it staged, and you're good to go.
I want to stick with you on that because you mentioned something. As the market shifts, some of these things may be necessary. What then becomes the priority? Is it kitchens? Is it bath? Exterior curb appeal? Really, how would your approach to your clients then change?
My approach would be more kitchens, baths, and curb appeal exterior. And then from that, obviously painting, cleanliness, but definitely kitchens and baths and exterior curb appeal.
Terrific. And Lori, I'm going to stick with you again. And I want to talk about the general state of the market and, what strategies are best right now to stimulate multiple offer situations? Certainly something that's desirable.
Correct. I think it's different in every market. Again, in this market, Worcester County, I believe you've got to let buyers in the property. However, I think a lot of folks are limiting the time and not getting enough buyers in that property. It's got to be planned correctly, marketed correctly as far as, do I want to list it on a Wednesday and have showings start immediately with a couple of open houses Saturday, Sunday, and offers due on Monday at noon? I think if you stretch it out too far, it's not great for the seller, but if you limit buyers getting into that property, it can certainly hurt them.
That makes a lot of sense. Brooke, what are your thoughts on that?
We typically do the same thing as Lori just said. We typically list on a Wednesday and ask for any and all offers to be due on Sunday, and will be responded to and reviewed on Monday. I mean, the key is to ensure that we are listing at a competitive price. And I tell my sellers that the market will tell us what the house is worth with the offers that come from the buyers. And I truly believe that that's the way to get every penny out of the house for our sellers.
Terrific. And sticking with you real quick, Brooke, what does that look like now in terms of, and you alluded to this a little bit earlier, in terms of when you start to make that pricing pivot and have that more difficult conversation with your client. Obviously, this is an unprecedented market, so I would imagine that timeline is a little bit different than maybe it historically has been.
Oh, absolutely. And we need to, I think the market will tell us quickly if we're not priced right. And I think, as my panelists were saying earlier, it depends on how many showings we're getting, how many offers. And luckily, if we can review each listing that we have as time goes on and see how many offers we got at what price point, review the showing time indicators and those sorts of things, so we know exactly what the market is doing, and we can see those slight, I hesitate to use the word shift, but those slight shifts in showings and pricing and so forth.
Fantastic, Brooke. And Laura, what are your thoughts on this?
To add to what the other two have said so far, one of the things that we have available in the Houston market and the MLS is we can put homes on under a coming soon status in our MLS for up to 2 weeks. And I take advantage of using that. I don't know if that's in every market, but I really take advantage of using that. And that way we can also spend that next 2 weeks marketing the home, letting you know it's coming up. I let other agents from my brokerage, especially for me personally, I use my mentees and allow them to do an open house. So I can market that open house and list just like they do on Wednesday, and won't allow showings around here until the open house, which brings a lot of competition in, and buyers see other buyers there at the open house right in the beginning. And that really drives up the multiple offer situation.
Fantastic. Thank you, Laura. And Chris, we'll close with you on this question.
All right. Well, thank you. So same thing as my fellow panelists say, it's listing on a specific date. But one of the things I educate my clients about when we're talking pricing strategy is I tell them there are 3 different ways to price a home. You can price it lower than what market is saying. You'll typically get a ton of offers on the house. You'll get more showings than you can probably handle. And you'll get some really good offers. You'll probably get everything you want. You can price it at, you can price it at market value. You'll get less showings, but you'll get very solid offers, very qualified buyers. And then you could price it high. Sometimes our sellers have dreams that they want to get a specific number for their house. I'm not opposed to doing that, but I do tell them when they want to list that high that we're probably going to need to have a conversation if we don't get the activity you want in the, in the first week or so. All that to be said, I do like to list on a Wednesday, do open house Saturday and Sunday. We do very long open houses. We do them typically from about 10 to 4. That way we can help all agents who can't be there to show their clients. They can send their client during that big window of time. And then we review offers either on Sunday night or Monday.
I want to stick with that idea of the conversation. Obviously, this is a relationship, people business. When you have to go back to the seller and say, we need to reevaluate your price, is this something where you lean on your relationship with the seller, or do you lead with data? Chris?
Yeah, I lead with data, and I just tell them, I said, when we sat down in the very beginning, I gave you the 3 pricing strategies, and I don't like to tell them you were doing the wrong thing. I like to say, the market is speaking. The market is telling us that we are overpriced, and I just put it back in their court, and I say, I think a small price reduction could be good. I think maybe retaking photos could be good of this area. Maybe taking it off market for 20 days, letting it sit, and then putting it back on the market could re-energize the property. Just giving them different strategies that could help them achieve what they want in the long run.
Terrific. And I would love to open this up to Laura next, actually. Being that this is a relationship business, what is this conversation? How does it start for you when you really want to try to talk a client down from perhaps an unreasonable high price?
Well, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to set that expectation in the listing presentation right from the very beginning. And then you're going to let them know, hey, look, you know what? This is where I suggest that this price is. If you want to price it here, I think I mentioned this earlier, we're going to give it a week. We're going to come back and we're going to discuss it. And if we need to, we're going to bring it down to my price or suggested price, market value price. And then even in the listing agreement at the very end, we can have them sign to where it's actually just automatic. So after 14 days, if we're not seeing any activity, then they're signed permission to automatically go ahead and reduce that price. And I just have a quick phone conversation with them. Hey, remember what we talked about in the beginning about setting expectations, and you're not moving. Is it okay? Can we go ahead, click the button? Let's bring this down that 2 to 5% or whatever percentage it was after we had talked about the expectations. And the conversation's a lot easier if you set that in the beginning.
That makes sense. Lori, how do you approach this?
Well, during the listing presentation, I always explain that this could happen. And fortunately enough, maybe 1 out of 20 sellers, want to list a little bit high. But I always have the conversation that you will be getting a call from me 10 days after the day it goes on the market if there are no offers. I set the expectation for them that they're getting a call within 10 days from that list date. And we're going to go over the data and we're going to go over why this is happening. And they're good with it. And typically they, as long as they know it's coming, everybody's okay with it. And they go along with the price reduction if need be.
Great. Thanks, Lori. And Brooke, I'll give you a chance to answer the same question.
Yeah, sure. One of my favorite quotes or sayings is, I don't have a crystal ball. If I did in real estate, it would be amazing. But I think, as Lori just said, setting the expectations, and then I will tell my clients that if we do need to correct, we need to do so quickly. And I think that's important too.
Terrific. And speaking of that crystal ball, I want to, this last question I want to ask all of you is, what do you foresee as sort of the biggest challenges with pricing in the year ahead? And I want to start with Laura on this.
So the biggest challenges with the pricing ahead is the clientele, the consumer has been so caught up with, oh my gosh, it's sold for over, that everybody has that mindset still. As the months come and the market starts to stabilize, the difficulty is going to be explaining the newer shift in the market, whichever way that may go, to your clients. However, with the FHA and the conventional loan limits being increased, we may not see that much of a difficulty in pricing because there's more possibility of home ownership opening up. So we may not have to be having that conversation.
That would certainly be good. Brooke, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, as Laura said, I mean, I think definitely keeping the pricing in the eyesight of potential buyers or doing that competitive pricing, but really watching the market. And I think time has shown us over the last couple of years that we don't know what's going to happen. And so as long as we're keeping our pulse on what is happening and doing our job to educate our sellers at that listing appointment and ensuring that they don't get too greedy, because some sellers right now are really shooting for the moon. And so I really try to hone in on that competitive price point so that we do really get every penny possible and buyers tell us what they're willing to pay for it.
Excellent. And Chris, I'll go to you next on this.
Well, as Laura and Brooke have said, I totally agree with both of what they say. I foresee in our market in Southern California that we're going to continue on the path we are right now, probably for at least this year, maybe into 2023. I think that it's just, if we don't have more inventory come, we're just not going to see it change. It's just going to continue to be bidding wars on homes, and a lot of hard conversations with our buyers when they are not able to get a house. So I'm hoping for a little bit of relief. I'm hoping that more sellers decide to put their houses on the market so that we can actually, help these buyers out also.
Yeah, you got to meet that demand. And Lori, you get the last word on this.
Great. I agree with Chris. Until inventory peaks up and interest rates go up, we're not going to have a pricing problem. The only problem we're going to have with pricing when that happens is sellers' expectations, really, and making them understand why pricing may have to shift or change or adapt. But other than that, we've got a good year of high prices, and I don't think we're going to have to really get into that this year.
Fantastic. It sounds like it's all about managing expectations and being nimble in the year to come. And I appreciate this panel's time and all of you for watching. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for sharing these actionable steps to help sell your listing faster. It's now time for a special session on securing your financial future.